to take you the area that I need to talk to my son and say, you go on and came with the community, and you are a member of that community, and there's an expectation that you will do your own little part when you are old enough. Which says, Mahamud Ayamo. And Alif Kamansa the Horawan Bagade, Adigi Ayalo inta Ainigaga and Idin Tartare. Hadi Air Lagaga was Samir Laguna Ishe Hakatagi Hasanda. Edgar Mary Suguti, Yokola Hiared, Afku, Hukadere, Ebi, Merido Wallace in Kara. Adu Eris and Karikara. Marnayan Ayalu Africatic. Oday waa kan caadila ergo waa kan daacada ifka intaad ku nooshahay haddii beri ayaan loo arrin qaybi lagu yaray eexyaan lagu xaman waxaa jira ayaan loo alla nimu ku siday maal misna aan afurin karin nafta gaajada ildaan nafsigaa ordayaa awr buubi qaadaa waxaad urursanaysaa mar lagaa afuufaa qof anfaca ku soo biday abidkaa ha oran maya inta liban inuu tago intuu helay ku mahadnaqi waa caado aadami axad kale wuxuu helay looga indha taagay lugahaan ku orodiyo aragihiyo dhaayaha afartaba nin waayo waxyaha ka awdanan hadda kaana dib u eg weli howayaalo sida aanastaynkii wax ka qoray ilayskiiyo odaygii galiilihiiyo artan daatankii uubada xabaashiyo intaan iirka lagu dhigin afartaada dhaadheer inta aan aboor cunin noqonkii adduunyada madax looga aayaa ana ereyadaydiyo ku adkaada waalada intaas baan ku dhaafayaa because waxaan arkayaa dad badan oo sidaan ii soo eegaya oo le muxuu sheegaya aad iyo aad ku mahadsantihiin si aan uga baxno dhalinyarada saa ii soo daawanaysa oo markaa afar erey ahdaba mid oranaya ay ga daawan I'm trying just planning to put together a program for a Somali school. I'm not talking about right now for the kindergartens and the small babies. Talking about a group like you. We just can learn the basics. Then immediately we will move on somewhere that you enjoy the Somali language and the storytelling and the poems and this and that and the beautiful imagery. All those Somali poems carry on. So I have that. And inshallah we will tackle together that one too, and you will have my contact soon. I hope I will see you again. So thank you very much.
To reduce crime and drugs and currently works at Adams Center in Northern Virginia as a youth director since 2007. So can we please give a warm welcome to Brother Joshua Salon.
Assalamu alaikum. Welcome everyone. Thank you for coming out. Inshallah. You know, it's interesting to hear the perspective of the American Somali community, or the Somali American community. However, I've heard both today, and I hear there's a struggle, this identity that everyone has faced, Muslims in general, Muslim Americans, American Muslims, whatever. But let me give you a brief reminder about what happened in America. As you remember, you know, it started on something corrupt. It started with a lot of racism. It started with a lot of hatred. And as it grew, and people had to be very concerned, who are you? Are you black? Are you white? As it grew, are you from Japan? Oh, they're one of the Japanese Americans. Oh, you're from Ireland. They came over from here, from Ireland. Oh, and everybody wanted to know who you were and put you in a box. And so, a friend of mine who's from Kenya, her name's Khadija, when she came to America, she said, I was shocked. I had never before seen a piece of paper where I had to check who I was. Are you Asian, African, this, that? She goes, from Kenya, everybody was Kenyan. There was no box that you had to check to say this or that. So it was actually foreign to her. she really didn't understand it. And when I told that story in front of a sister that I work with from Panama, she said, yeah, the same thing. In Panama, we don't have this. There's people, you know, with American names, or English names, white, black, all different kind of colors. You're just Panamanian. So really, you have to understand the history of America and how we got to trying to put you in a box. Okay, this is very important because all these initial stories about my friends. I have another friend who's a famous singer named Zane Bika. Anybody heard of Zane Bika? Our world? Yeah. Okay. All right, we got some Zane Bika fans out there. Zane Bika is from South Africa. Okay? Zane Bika speaks one language. English, South African English. Or, you know, a little bit of Afrikaans, but it's all English. His ancestors are from Pakistan. And he looks Pakistani. And when we travel around the world performing in England and different places, people come up to him and speak Urdu. And he says, I'm not Pakistani. You know what he says he is? He's South African. He knows nothing about Pakistan. His father knows nothing about Pakistan. His grandfather may remember a little bit from his grandfather. They're just South African. And what happens over time is, people may not like it, they may like it. After a while, people are just American. They no longer are Irish American or Japanese American. After being here for so long, which none of us, very few have been, right? Your great-grandchildren probably will just identify themselves as American. They won't know anything about Somalia. They won't know it. Maybe their grandmother, which will be Jamad, right? Jamad may remember a little bit, you know, because she was there and she spoke the language. But this is what begins to happen. And even as I look in the room today, I see a lot of American outfits, you know, American style, the flavor. I can see it in the audience, the style of the hair and the dress, right? So you still have your Somali culture and starting to create a new culture. And this is what happened. This is what happened with hip-hop. If you're familiar with it, it was African music, and it started to change and shape into this American culture, and it created something new. You guys are going to create something new here in America, inshallah. In my experience with Adams Center, we had to empower the youth. And I will tell all of you, the main turning point in Adams Center with the youth is when we turned over the responsibility back to the youth. They hired me as a youth director, so some of the youth were like, Brother Joshua, what are we doing now? What's next? What's happening next month? What are we going? And I'm struggling. When I turned it back over to them and the conversation turned to this, Brother Joshua, you know what we want to do next month? We want this. How can we make it happen? Then the Adams Youth Program took a turn for the better. When I stopped trying to tell them this is what's going to happen, and they started telling me this is what needs to happen. This is what needs to happen with you as well. Parents, adults, old people, we have to let go a little bit and find out what the youth want and what the youth need, and let them tell you, and then you just give them the resources, you give them the power, you give them the money to make it happen. Now, if you want to leave a legacy, which all of you have to do, you have to leave a legacy. You have to get to work. You have to get out there. As Sister Anab said, you can't let people tell you who you are. You have to go tell them who you are. Tell them what it means to be a Somali American or American Somali. What is it? What is your culture? How does your culture benefit this country and the people around you? What do you have to offer that you bring from your culture? You establish your legacy now. Why? When I was, I went to visit a friend of my mother. I went into her house. Literally, her house looked like a doll house. Everything was like perfect. The covers were, you know, just, I was like, what is this? I didn't want to sit down. I didn't want to touch anything. It was like picture perfect. And I asked the daughter, I said, why is that? She goes, I think it's the German in us. She's never been to Germany, right? But she knows she has German roots. And she's saying, you know, I think it's the German in us, right? You know, German engineering, very precise. The Mercedes, the BMW, the Audi. right? The Volvo, these cars have a reputation in America. You have to establish your legacy now, so that when your great-grandchildren no longer know anything about Somalia, when they do something positive and are showing off in school with their abilities and their intellect and their outreach, somebody says, where'd you get this from? I don't know. I think it's the Somali in me. Right? How will that happen? By you having to get to work now. You have to get to work right now to establish what it really means to be from Somalia, here with Somali roots. What are you? Who are you? Establish it now. Because your great-great-grandchildren, they won't know. They'll just have memories. And they'll stand up and be proud and say, I think she must have a little Somalia. He might have a little Somalia. So when I go around to the Muslim community, people are confused. I hear a conversation say, yeah, that Muslim sister, she got married to an American. Now, in your mind, what does that mean?
A white guy or
a white guy, thank you very much. Right? She got married to some white guy. But soon, that won't mean that anymore. America is changing. America no longer means white. So when I heard that comment, when somebody said, oh, she married an American, I was like, give me some more information. What is that? I'm an American, right? And I don't see myself as, I don't know anything about Africa. Other than I've been there about 5 times, but I don't know anything about Africa. I don't know any great-grandparents or anything. I don't know anything about the culture. I only know inner city American culture. That's what I know, right? So now when somebody says American, it could be somebody from Asia. It could be somebody from Africa. It could be somebody from Australia. It could be a Native American. It could be a Latino American. America is changing. It is changing. And it's up to you to define what it is. So I encourage you guys to get to work. Get out there and tell people who you are. Don't be locked into your own community. If I'm talking about outreach and community outreach and establishing a legacy, that means you have to do stuff out there. People out there have to see who you are and what you do. And that way, when your children's children are born, they will be super proud to be descendants of Somali Americans. May Allah bless you, may Allah guide you and reward you, and establish the legacy that you can, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Thank you very much, Joshua, for all of your sentiment. I want to now welcome Layla Ismail. She's a returning student currently at junior at George Mason University, pursuing conflict resolution. So her goal is to set up a center that will promote peace by building reconciliation and teaching and working with teenagers and doing community organizing for the poor and those in need. Prior to this, she was very fortunate to work 6 years for an association in Arlington as a marketing assistant. So please give a warm welcome to Layla Ismail.
Assalamu alaikum, everybody. Okay, so my topic tonight is terrorism and extremism, and that's kind of vast, and I couldn't be here all night to talk about that. As Jamaat said, I'm a student at George Mason, and I'm studying conflict resolution. And I feel like it's the right major for me because I did something opposite. I didn't go to school right away. I went to the workforce, and I kind of was also fortunate to work with other Fortune 500 companies, and I know exactly what I don't want to do. So that's why when I went back to school, I chose conflict resolution. And then, of course, with the whole terrorism and extremism that's taking place in our society, as far as our youth being recruited with ISIS and all that, I felt like it came closer to my circle of influence, especially in my close friends and family, and I saw the distraction that it left behind. In the news, a lot of people focus on, oh my God, they went to Syria, they get to be demonized, and they get to be put in this box, and they made a mistake, and we're just gonna throw them away. But what you guys and a lot of people don't get to see is the distraction that it leaves behind in the family. All of a sudden, the family gets ostracized, and they get to be put in this. I read a lot of comments from people, and a lot of people are blaming the family. They're saying, oh, they were not monitoring their computer activities, and all sorts of things, and all these things that it leaves behind, nobody gets to see that. But another thing people need to realize is that there are some predators whether it's social media or in the community, that these kids, they get to be, because they're already disaffected, because already they are unhappy somehow, already they're not fitting in the mainstream society, and already they're like in the fringes of society, and so they're not happy already, so it's so easy to kind of like recruit them. So so when that happens with the family, do they get to be blamed? So for me, I was thinking what to do, what kind of things we can come up with. So that's why I was fortunate that I'm in the environment that I'm in, to be able to work with my professors so we can do something. So I felt like if we mention that the family that get left behind, they're also very much affected. So how do you kind of like include those kids that are so disaffected? So I don't know, those are the kind of questions I'm just going to raise, only because I don't have the answer. And we all have to come up with an answer. Because how do we kind of like include them and bring them into the folds and back into society and back into being useful and appreciated and needed? Because that's the reason why they left. Because they felt like they're going to go somewhere where they're going to be needed, and they're going to be useful, and they're going to be, they're going to do something worthwhile. So what if we show them now that they're needed, and we love you, and if you leave and you leave us behind, that creates something. So it's like if we show them from now on that that's okay, it's not true. You're not just some sort of a person who doesn't fit with us. So that's what I wanted to say, is that what do we do? And how do we kind of like bring that back? And I don't really have answers, but we're working on it, and I'm hoping we can come up with something. Thank you for your time.
Jamil Adam Johnson, the president of the Prince George's County for Muslims, a political and civic group whose mission is to involve the Muslim community in the affairs of the county. He's a former chair of the board of the Prince George's Muslim Association and a congressional advisor to the Muslim American Citizens Committee and Public Affairs Council. Professionally, he's an associate vice president in the Government Affairs Office of NASDAQ, the global stock exchange company. Prior to his employment with NASDAQ, he spent 10 years as a chief of staff for U.S. Rep. Gregory Meeks of New York. Prior to that, he was executive director of the Rockaway Development and Revitalization Corporation, a local developed corporation in New York City. Jamil received his BA in economics from the University of Virginia and his MBA in international finance from St. John's University in New York. He's married to Cheryl Hart, and they are parents of 3 college students.
I'd like to take this opportunity to welcome Jamil, because Jamil is coming to us from very far, somewhere in Maryland. And when I met Jamil very, short. It was a very short notice. I was in the Muslim Pack about a couple of weeks ago, and at the end of the program, I of course heard about Jamil's bio and his speeches and all of that, and I just came to him. I knew his name, but I really didn't know him very well. I came to him and I said, brother, I have this event coming up. I'm looking for good speakers, and I really don't know a lot of people. Would you care to come and speak? And with no hesitation, he said, it's my pleasure. I would love to do it. That's why I really thank you very much for coming tonight to talk to this Youngsom. Here.
Jazakallah khairan, sister. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I told Brother Joshua, who I've known for a long time, back in his days with CARE, when I was on the Hill, that the only reason I came was I saw him in the program and I wanted to hear him speak, so I got to do that. But alhamdulillah, I really came because when the sister talked about the Somali community and the young people, you're not going to hear a great speech or a great speaker tonight. I'm just, your average Muslim brother. I'm trying to do my part to help the community. But I think it's so important. My kids are all in college now, so they're all about you guys' age. And it's always an issue of trying to get